a car that can park in sideways, so to speak. Can this new vehicle here challenge Audi, BMW, Mercedes or Porsche on their home market? This is here the Denza Z9 GT. We're going to explain you all about it. This high-tech vehicle with a lot of new technology features you've maybe not seen before. But how good is it for real? And can it really attack the German premium manufacturers on their very core home market? We're going to find out with Thomas Nautegefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Denza Z9 GT. GT stands for the Grand Touring version. It's more like a shooting brake design. In China it's also available as a sedan. And the history behind the Denza brand is 2010, Mercedes and BYD made like a joint venture and they founded this brand here together actually. Later Mercedes sold their stake back to BYD. I mean, if you remember the story with Mercedes and Tesla, Mercedes had a high stake in Tesla that would today be worth more than the whole Daimler Corporation itself. You know, they sold it before Tesla really went skyrocketing on the stock market. Lately, of course, down again. But here, will it be the same story? Will Denza succeed that much that Mercedes will regret selling the stakes? Yeah, we have to see about that. What we already see on the exterior is, let's say, a Porsche-esque design. Wolfgang Egger, the head designer of BYD, was formerly an Audi designer, so German design basically of this vehicle as well. And you can see the Denza logo, this is what you see in the front. I would like to know your feedback. What do you see in this logo? What I see actually, I'm not sure if you can unsee it then, maybe like a blue, dark blue tie someone is wearing or something like that. Would be looking forward to your feedback. We'll soon also look under the hood, trunk, interior and so on. And important to explain to you in the front, what is the powertrain of this vehicle? So you have two choices, either a plug-in hybrid, the one you can see here at the moment, and an electric version, full electric version. And both look the same, they're almost the same length. So this one here is at 5 meters 20 or 205 inches. The EV version is just like 2 centimeters shorter. It's just a different overhang, little bit different from the spoiler, but you couldn't really tell the difference on the exterior. And as I said, in the Chinese market, they also have the classic sedan form. And in Europe, they want to launch with a GT version here, starting with electric version, so not this one here, not the plug-in hybrid, electric version, in autumn 2025. And this one here, the plug-in hybrid, is supposed to come in early 2026 to the European market. We can see here, these are 21-inch wheels, pretty large. And talking about wheels, there's so much technology in this vehicle actually. But let's start with the powertrains. So you have one electric motor in the front, always two electric motors in the rear, so one per wheel. Plus the plug-in hybrid gets the 2-liter four-cylinder combustion engine also in the front. But both cars work more or less the same. Acceleration figures are 3.6 seconds or 3.4 seconds for the fully electric version. The plug-in hybrid has almost 900 horsepower. The EV has almost 1000 horsepower. So a lot of power, of course, because you have so many electric motors. And the EV, of course, full electric as usual. And the plug-in hybrid, usually it lets the combustion engine run as a generator. But in some rare cases, for example, cruising 100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour on the motorway, then the combustion engine of the plug-in hybrid also directly powers the front wheels because that's more efficient. But in general, the thing is that with the PHEV, you have a 38.5 kilowatt hour battery, very large for plug-in hybrid. And for the full electric version, there you have a 100 kilowatt hour battery. It's electric charging flap. So this is, probably will look different than on the EU version. There we go, AC and DC in this case in here with a different charging port. So let's see, let's go again. So the plug-in hybrid version will have a DC peak of 82 kilowatt and the EV will have a peak of 270 kilowatt, making the EV charging time 10 to 80% in about 25 minutes. These are the facts we have actually so far. And it goes even further with the technology, shown you very initially. This car has a rear axle steering, and in the usual scheme, like a Mercedes S-Class, the rear wheels can turn up to 10 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels, reducing the normal turning circle, making it more agile and so on. At the same time, it can also put these wheels parallel to the front wheels, like also other rear wheel steering do, but usually they do it at higher speeds and not so much. But here it can also do it at low speeds and do like a crab walk. So these wheels in this direction, these as well, and the car basically goes sideways if you have like some narrow situation. Then these here can turn up to 15 degrees in the same direction. And even more possible, have like the front wheel stationary, and then the rest of the vehicle comes around, and it works like that. For example, if I want to move this one here straight now, then actually the front wheel, the front right wheel would be sticking to the ground, and then this one would turn backward, and on the other sides the wheels would turn forward, and then it goes like this. So a lot of interesting technology behind this vehicle, and they really want to be let's say a technology leader. And of course also in design, this here should remind you of like a sand clock. Not sure if I would see a sand clock in that one, but definitely very interesting. And one more function that is actually possible, when you hit like an emergency braking, then the wheels can also turn inward both, like like the skiing beginners, they like go down the slope like this, and this, when you turn the rear wheels like this, is like an additional braking force you apply. And by the way, it also gets a standard air suspension. And Michelle, who is doing the camera work for today, just suggested, he said like the viewers should comment on what's your favorite Thomas move for today, like the ski beginner or the crab walk. Vote for your favorite Thomas move today. Let's see if it has a frunk or not. Okay, I fooled you guys, because this one, as I said, is the plug-in hybrid. That's why it doesn't have a frunk. So I would suppose that the electric version does have a frunk there, but maybe some of our Chinese viewers can tell us if that's the case for the EV version that's already available in China. But here, as I said, the 2-liter 4-cylinder in that plug-in hybrid version, and at 100 kilometers an hour, it directly attaches to the wheels if you keep it like steady, for example. And in most other situations, it will just run as a generator. This is the key fob, kind of heavy also, feels premium. There you can see the digital side mirrors. These are camera mirrors. They will soon fold out when I open the vehicle, and I can press it on the key fob here, or I can also press this button here. And then you can see door handles fold out, but this is also equipped with the electric doors. They automatically open. And you maybe saw that also the camera mirrors fold out. And this, there we go. Hello. It's always a question if it's useful or not. I'm not a fan of the digital mirrors. I'm more a fan of the classic mirrors indeed. These windows here are, by the way, with dual glazing. You can see it right here. So let's see how silent it is then when driving, for example. When the doors are electric, of course, when you move the manual, it's not that good for electric motor, and it's also kind of heavy. I'm not the biggest fan of electric doors, honestly. But this is pretty cool here. This is bamboo wood actually, and you can hear how the matte surface is feeling like, and everything is covered nicely. Also this crystalline levers here for the windows. This is where you close the door electrically again with this button. Also here everything covered at the inside of the door, so this looks like really high build quality. Also with a large entry sill badge here, which already begins in the door sill. That's interesting. And then here, this steering wheel, also with real buttons. Here, for example, for the adaptive cruise control on the left side. Right side then also for the volume. So that looks good. And also like this, knurling style on the buttons. Also when you here control the light switch and so on. Here, once again, more matte wood. Seats here, they look indeed S-Class alike. So I do feel a lot of Mercedes influence here still, and so far for this model we only heard of animal skin seats and no alternatives so far. Of course, I would wish if they also offer some animal friendly options. And then let's get inside. Let's see, steering wheel here has this small knob for electric control. It goes down like this and also towards me. And we have also shifting pedals here, it's also interesting. And then we can also put here this front part a little bit longer. The seats are actually not too plush. And you can see with 1.89 m, 6'2", you can see it's not primarily built for tall Europeans. Gotta say that, So here I have some headroom left, but I've seen it also in some other Chinese sedans so far, especially the Neo ET5. That was a big problem. That here, like, I almost sit in the ceiling, and if I would turn down the sun blind, I'm literally blind because I cannot see the road anymore. So I can just, that's nice. All soft covered and so on. like illumination around. So I can watch myself in the mirror when I put down the sunlight, but that's actually it. So yeah, I gotta say, I would have expected softer seats, and there you can see also the animal skin surface is not the highest tech. So this also, like, the whole brand is using most high tech everywhere except for the seats, because there are meanwhile better materials that are more animal friendly, but also better in the function, in the purpose for the customer. But here, yeah, you can see it's not too much headroom. Interesting is that we have a roof here as well. We can open. So here I can open this shade first. It is a split thing. So there we go. I can open the front one and the rear one, and that's about it. So there's just this shade here, but at least it's like a real button. So this is what I really appreciate about this vehicle. You have so many real buttons and not so much capacitive BS, especially like around here, the steering area and so on. Here, by the way, in the ceiling, there is another button to close the doors electrically. So let's try that out, and without killing Michelle, he has to move a little bit back. So either this one here at the inside of the doors, but that you don't have to reach that far. You can also then press for opening or closing the door right there. And as another door closing option, I can just hit the brake. That's a good thing. Oh, interesting. Then Michelle's door is closing as well. But can you hold against it? Yeah, he's holding tight, and then, oh. Yeah, it was fun, even funnier for me now, because I could see Michelle being pushed against the vehicle. But interesting, we haven't seen that both doors actually close with hitting the brake. But I mean, in general, it does make sense if you're not filming the car, you know what I mean? So once again, you're welcome to this cockpit. You now see the experience here in the front. 17-inch central touchscreen, 13-inch instruments, 13-inch passenger display. That's a thing in China, definitely, and European and American customers just say, why would we need that? So it's a different philosophy indeed. I cannot see it for real from here. It's like the screen that can only be regarded from the straight angle. Then it's actually very clear. Other than that, you can see so much from it. Like the reason behind that, you're not distracted when like a movie is running there, for example. And here we have like the very big frameless mirror, also pretty cool. And as I said, here there's crystalline buttons also on the top. So I really like the button philosophy here. Also, for example, here for the no, I was pressing the brake again. The door hit Michelle from the back again. So much fun today. Here the shifting lever, I like to pull this like for drive, reverse. That feels pretty cool. This is how you start the vehicle. This is still the Chinese version. And this very, very interesting here, the E3 button, because there you can trigger these special commands. So I'm going to show that to you. Here, adaptive cup holders, that's nice. And this vehicle is equipped with 2 fridges. You can also here set the temperature for the fridge. Where we go? There we go. So you can also set heating. So it can be a heat box or a cooling box. And there we go. This is like fridge number 1, and it's really very cold here inside. It's really freezing, minus 6 degrees. You can also open it from my side. But yeah, as I said, you can also heat it, so you can maybe heat your food in there or something like that. Very interesting. In the front here, inductive charging pads on both sides, and they have this, let's say, this rubber background that is also a little bit sticky then for the phone, that it doesn't fly around. And there you can see it also is then inductively charging. It's not cool though, so the phones might overheat. And when I hit now this E3 button, then you can see on the screen I have the special rear wheel steering functions. For example, here the crab walk I can activate here, that the car can like drive sideways, so to speak, like around an obstacle, or also this so-called PCT. There the car can be moved around in a circle, you know, like where the front wheel is getting sticky, and then you move it around. Or you can also, you know, like park in the car with that. So very interesting functions. And you can see here also the whole screen, like all the animations and so on. Everything is super, super quick. So there's a lot of processing power behind everything. It's of course Tesla-esque from this design, because Tesla really set the standard there in this industry. And just look at that. I mean, this is also something the Germans have to work on. When I click something, it's there like immediately. There's no loading time. Only here the temperature is once again in the lower part. Yeah, so there's no physical dial for temperature. This is something I would still wish in this vehicle for. Let's look here at the glove box part, pressing it here, and this slot here is actually a slot for a microphone, for a karaoke microphone. It's not here in this vehicle, but usually you can pull like a microphone out from this slot and then activate a karaoke mode in the display and then start singing. That's also a big thing in China. They are really into karaoke. Also in some other countries in Asia, of course, that are really into karaoke. Not such a thing in Europe or in the US, but I mean, if customers want that in certain markets, definitely also a fun thing to do. By the way, I can also use this gentleman function and here control the passenger seat from here. I have controls here on the side, so this is also possible to move it. Or for example, let's say you are like a chauffeur, and then like the passenger is going in the rear, you can already move the seat forward. That is also possible. Then you have a lot of space here in the lower part, also with this fabric cladding. You have USB-C charging here in the lower parts and also USB-A. So both is possible. And once again, I can just say like everything you touch and feel is really high quality. That is really on the positive side. Yeah, it's just that I think with the seating position, the space they offer for the driver especially, and the seating comfort, that is something they still really have to work on, I feel, the longer I sit here. And the driver POV, once again here with the rear buttons. Then we have the digital instruments. You can also adjust some things in there, what you want to see and so on. Speed then top part. And there you can also see for the plug-in hybrid, the battery status plus the petrol. And then it says here almost 1,000 kilometers of range in total. Very interesting. And you also get a head-up display, which I've set at the moment to snow mode, that you can see it better a little bit. Now the rear luxury experience. Here also in the rear we have the dual glazed windows. You can also lower them right here. There we go. And then you can see it here. So that looks very nice. Also once again with a nice wood at the inside of the doors. Put it up again. There we go. Also this covering at the inside of the doors again. By the way, these are also the emergency locks here for the doors when you want to manually open them. And then what we can do here on this chauffeur side, let's move the seat as forward as possible and see how much space we got and also how much the seat is going forward and upward and so on. So let's see. That seems to be it. And I mean, yeah, look at that. I mean, this is a lot of space. And here, these are the controls then to control the front part of the seat and the back part. I can better show you that on the other side. So there we go. And then when I'm sitting here, I can here put the lower part a little bit longer. No, that's not me farting, it's the seat. So that's actually a pretty cool function. And here and also the back part of the seat can be moved more upright or more in a sleeping position. And then here with 189 602, it still barely works. More to here, but when I put my head to the side, like it's still close, but it works. You can also put down these mirrors here. They're very beautiful. Have this LED illumination around. So that's also cool for the, there we go. Yeah, it's adjustable that you can see yourself as well. Yeah, there we go. So that's a nice luxury feature. And as I said here, this one can be like separately closed, for example. Another door opener also here for the rear seats that you can press this one and then open and close the door here as well. And then we come the middle part here. First of all, here in the front, it's a climate unit, and then underneath, it's like a description of what you see because it's hard to really see it from eye level. That's why you see like, here the description, what you can actually find there. It's interesting. Everything here with the flat floor. That's actually quite cool. And the thing is, you have a lot of space here in the rear, definitely a lot of space. But once again, the seat surface is not too soft, as I said here also in the front. But actually the comfort is better in the rear than in the front in this vehicle. And then even more interesting is here, the middle part. You can use it as a seat, but it's, that is kind of stiff and feeling lost. It's more about folding this one down here. Then you have cup holders. Yeah, that's what you see, what can happen to bright animal skin pretty quickly. And here you have the second fridge. There we go. This once again really, really cold. The typical champagne stuff. And let's see, we should be able, yeah, this can also be heated if you like, so, and this can also be colder. So you can also adjust the temperature quite easily here. So yeah, very interesting. A Neo ET9 would of course come close to this one. This is another Chinese competitor we've recently reviewed also for you. There's also a video about that one online that like really went through the roof. So looking forward also how they will actually fight each other then on different markets there as well. What do you think about this rear experience? And what's also actually pretty cool here, even if all 4 doors are opened and I hit the brake, look at that, all doors close at the same time. Let's take a look at the trunk or the boot. Electric hatch here, this here the GT, this shooting brake form. And you can see here, under this cover, the trolley does not really fit, so this is not that high, at least in this position. But there is another possibility, soon going to show it to you. So this one can be removed. And then of course the trolley also fits in like this. And you also have the possibility to lower this floor. So either you can lift it up, store something underneath, or you can put it in a lower position like this. And then let's try again here with the cover, if it works then. Yeah, this works. So probably maybe just leave it in the lower position. And then here, the width here is exactly, yeah, see, like, it's exactly 1.40 meters. That's the width. And the length here, you know, when we have these gaps there. So this is about like 38 inches or 97 centimeters. And the maximum height here, we are at 27 inches or 69 centimeters. And you can see here, this is where the fridge is, the rear fridge. That's why we have like this, you know, additional length here. And then, pretty cool effect. Here we can, there we go. 1, 2. We can electrically fold the seats. That looks cool. The fridge stands still. And then here, if we reach through, so we can almost put the full ruler in here with 78 inches or 2 meters. And here we can see a different color, the car in white, and also in the lower trim. These here are 20-inch wheels, not the 21-inch wheels. And luckily for me also, here this is the one with classic mirrors, so you do not have to go for the camera mirror. At least this is also available. Of course, we have to see then which offers will be the final ones on the European market. We'll keep you updated with that. But tell me how you think this one looks like in white and also with the smaller wheels. And now let's take a detailed look at these individual rear axle steering technology highlights. The most spectacular one is this narrow turning circle where the rear circles around the front. 4.62 meter is the turning circle there. The question is, where do you need it in your real life? Well, maybe not that often, but of course it will ensure that you can take the closest corners, so to speak. Very interesting to see nevertheless. A more useful feature is the parking in and out feature when you steer this car in this very narrow parking slot, and then just a little bit of the rear comes around to fit in the parking spot where maybe otherwise you wouldn't have fitted in. This is a very good thing for everyday driving. However, you always have to think about it does create a lot of wear and tear on the tire, so you always have to think about, is it worth the wear and tear of the tire to do this action here? To me, the most astonishing thing is that the technology is that far that it is very easy to do from the inside of the cabin, just using or activating it on the touchscreen, and that's basically it. And then there's also the so-called crab walk, as we talked about earlier. And for this, I also see somewhat limited use, that the rear wheels also turn in the parallel direction at slower speeds, giving you some left and right maneuvering also in tight spaces. It looks spectacular, but there are also again, the question is, where would you actually use that in your everyday driving life? But definitely everything very interesting to see what this car is capable of doing. One quick acceleration from 50. Woo! That was 100. And now we have some, like some whoops, as we say in Supercross. Here the air suspension doing that very well. A little bit bumpy road here as well. The air suspension is rather set on a soft note. Gotta say that. Also when I'm doing some left and right, we're also soon gonna test it even more. But here, first of all, when we can drive a little bit quicker at least, is a very responsive, definitely from the throttle, and the brakes are also extremely responsive. So you have to be very gentle with the brakes, really hammers in. However, as for the base recuperation, standard recuperation setting, it's not set on the one pedal driving. We also had it with other BYD vehicles. It's more like that to let the car roll. Now we go here on this test track. can do some cornering for you. Here, 60 kilometers an hour. Yeah, you feel the weight of the vehicle definitely pushing me a little bit outward. Now I also understand why they do this technology that the side bolsters are blowing up, because on the slick surface you're also, being slid around from time to time. But what we already noticed is that's very silent here on the interior, so the noise insulation seems to be really, really good. And now we can also drive a little bit quicker. Let's do one acceleration, put it to sport mode again. From 70 kilometers an hour, let's go. Now the engine also went on. 150, 170. And in the sport mode, 120 kilometers an hour, let's accelerate further. 150. Now also the engine once again gets on. 180 kilometers an hour. You hear that? Not sure what it is. I mean, in general, the noise level is low, but when you're getting to like 180, you hear like bop, 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 bop. That must come somehow from the wind noise, I guess, So, yeah, that's interesting. Now we have some bumps in the road. Let's put it here to normal again to test a little bit. Now there's like a dip. Yeah, that is very well evened out. Some cobblestones here. And now one more time here above this surface. Yeah, actually quite smooth and relaxed. And this will be also very interesting, making a U-turn and using all of that rear axle steering. Wow, pretty cool. Now we make one more test here, autonomous emergency braking, when we drive 50 kilometers an hour, if the car is automatically braking. Woo! Interesting. I mean, that puts a lot of stress on your body, but it really, I mean, you maybe saw I switched the brake pedal, like flying over it, hovering over it, but I didn't press the brake. That was all done by the car, so it's good to know that in case this car would be able to do that. Of course, you shouldn't trust in it, but it's good to know that we have this kind of fail-safe. Here it's getting tight, and what I also feel is here the technology that the side bolsters of the seats are being blown up when I do a turn. That's technology we know already from Mercedes, 15 years or 20 years ago. I found it rather a little bit annoying. It's that you don't fly out of the seat, so to speak. And then, for example, when you do the other turn, then the other outside bolster is being blown up. So this is another comfort feature, but yeah, I found it rather a little bit annoying, honestly. What I also noticed is here on the right side here with my knees, it's super, super tight. So if you have long legs, like I do, it's super, super narrow here for the knee. So it's constantly hitting this middle console here. So that's not it's not wide enough, actually. So that's, that's something to look out for, definitely. And here we do some left and right. First of all, in normal mode. The steering is without a dead zone, actually, so it does give you quite some good feedback, but you have to steer quite a lot, at least in the normal mode. And let's see if we feel any difference when we switch the driving mode here to sport. So this vehicle here also has the large wheels. And now let's see, when I do some left and right slalom like this, I also feel the side bolsters once again. Yeah, it's a little bit stiffer, a little bit more feedback from that suspension. Let's go back to the normal mode again. Yeah, there you feel it. Yeah, I mean, the car is not leaning much at all in both modes, but in the sport mode, more feedback, definitely. So if you prefer that when you have like some, agile situations and so on. And this is the plug-in hybrid, and as you hear, we are driving all electric because of this large plug-in hybrid battery. Most of the time you will drive electric. Here at the moment it says like a predicted range of 160 kilometers of electric, and the total range in 888 kilometers. That's what, and it's not even like completely full there from the electric part. And I mean, here at least at lower speeds it's reasonably silent because of these dual glazed windows, so that's also cool. It does feel sophisticated, it does feel premium here, what I can say so far. Well, I said earlier in the interior driving part, I can't really find a comfortable seating position. Seats are stiff, and I feel that the ergonomics are also not on top of the game. So this combination of not the best ergonomics, not so much space for your knees, and then I'm sitting like in the ceiling, makes it, especially for me with my size, not a suitable vehicle, actually, like from the whole body posture and so on. This vehicle is really about the technology. Let's also compare the steering once again. Normal steering, let's see, sport steering. Yeah, it gets a little bit stiffer than the steering, but I still feel it's set out for a comfortable steering that, you know, it doesn't react that progressive. It does take a while and so on. But overall, the car feels, at least from like the first driving impressions I can gather here, feels somewhat well built. I can also see the digital mirrors. We've also saw the other version without them. I would prefer it. Here, once again, the placement is actually quite good, that you see what you're doing and you don't have to, you know, watch like completely far away. But once again, the biggest thing is that it's a close focus. It's not a far focus. That's the main problem, actually. And you might think about, wait a minute, when we have the perspective to the front, why is he driving so slow at the moment? And what is this car they're doing in front of us? The thing is, I want to deliver as many driving impressions for you as possible. And the only way they allow it here to do like some free driving is with limited speed. And when a car-to-car vehicle where you can do photos from the outside drives in front. Super interesting vehicle for sure, and a lot of promising technology, large plug-in hybrid battery. We have to see, of course, about the efficiency and the range of the pure electric version, where we can do like an extensive long driving test. But the main question is, of course, what about the price? So it's not like the very official figure is not out yet, but what we heard is that it's supposed to start at around 100,000 euros. We have to see and confirm that later to you. But then the main question is, of course, you can come with a lot of technology on the one hand, but will the customer also accept a new brand at similar prices like the premium competition? And what about customer service and servicing the vehicles and so on? I mean, it's not sure yet if they can actually do that. This is always a problem for all of the new brands, that they have to prove themselves to the customer first. So far, the new Chinese brands are not that successful in the sales numbers on the European market, and especially not in Germany. It's tough terrain for sure. At the same time, the Chinese brands come up with so much advanced technology and have so many engineers, which are often very, very young actually in comparison to the German engineers, and come up with fresh and new ideas. And this is of course something they can also work with. So it will be very interesting if they can succeed or not. This was like the first shot here for you, the first video, and we'll keep following this brand and for you, especially if you are interested. And now you should compare the classic competition.